Okay. Hello, everyone, and sorry for a little bit of delay. And welcome to the Dasharo User Group number 12. And after that, there will be developers vPub OX11. Okay, so this is our poster. As always, you can find the link to the event on our events 3mdev.com, or you can go just directly to the link on the poster, which is kind of complex, but I guess it's not hard to reverse engineer. events.dasharo.com/events/9/Dasharo User Group 12. If you are first time here? If you are first time here, then I just want to let you know that Dasharo User Group is a forum where Dasharo team and sometimes our partners share knowledge about Dasharo and how they develop, implement, integrate Dasharo, and what kind of products they selling on top of it, or creating on top of it, or creating with it. We're doing this since beginning of 2023. So yeah, it would be almost 3 years. vPubs are even older. So it would be like next will be like 5 years of vPubs. The DAG is type scheduled. I will try to move faster. vPub is maybe a little bit more relaxed, but today we have a fully packed agenda. On top of each hour, we start new topic, and then someone got either demo, either short talk, either there is some introduction to a discussion panel. And when that happened, then we switch to the Q&A, and then after that there is discussion. The part behind the demos is not recorded, so QA and open discussion is not recorded and not published on YouTube. Just the demo, just the discussion. Okay, so here is the plan for next 2 hours. Right now we have greetings, then there will be Dasharo community status, Dasharo community release roadmap, where I will let you know about the upcoming releases and what we already did this quarter, and maybe some end of last quarter. Then we'll talk a little bit about the products which were introduced to the shop, and whatever like 3mdev planning regarding placing in the shop. Then we will switch to Mateusz to listen about open source firmware validation status, so our validation framework status. After that, we will talk about Windows Hardware Lab Kit, which was exercised by Philip, and he's got quite interesting experience with it. So maybe we will also aim for Windows logo certification for Dasharo. That would be cool. That open source firmware can do maybe better even than the proprietary software, but maybe that's long road. And then we will switch to vPub. I just want to let you know that we tried to upload as many PDFs as possible. So most of the presentation, except the roadmap that I fixed to the last minute, is already uploaded on the cfp3mdev.com on the developers vPub schedule. So you can get the slides there. So let me switch the slides to community status. Okay. This one. Okay, so you should see slides from Dasharo community status. So what's our agenda for today? In this slot, we will start with the Dasharo team events roadmap, and not only Dasharo team, but maybe more like whole 3mdev event roadmap. Then we will talk about Dasharo issues, repo statistics, then core boot repo statistics, documentation updates, maybe some highlights from the documentation, EDK2 fork, like downstream stats, some GitHub star statistics, matrix activity statistics, little bit about bug bounty, and a little bit about the Dasharo infrastructure changes. So what happened regarding events? Of course, we co-hosted and co-organized 7th KubesOS Summit in September. It was a great event. It was really great to see all people interested in integrating KubesOS, and of course, KubesOS certification depends on Dasharo, and that's where we have this partnership, and that's why we really care about this event and why we were engaged so far into co-organizing it. Then we had Zarhus Developers Meetup. So this is 3M Devs Embedded Linux kind of theme or set of products where we're trying to create operating system or maintain operating system which is capable of provisioning, controlling, maintaining, and essentially supporting us in doing everything around root of trust and chain of trust technology. Of course, we're touching other operating systems than Linux. We're touching Android, we're touching, I don't know, OpenWRT, OpenSense, FreeBSD, various other operating systems. But the main theme is always around the same, help maintain root of trust and chain of trust. There was plan for hardware I/O, but unfortunately the tickets didn't sold, and that was it. And I essentially canceled that. So we will see if we will continue. Right now, there doesn't seem to be interest in UEFI and UEFI Secure Boot and Intel BootGuard trainings. But who knows? Maybe things will change in the future. I guess we will kind of do us one step back and rather get back to ST2 and free and open materials contribution, and to the point where there will be market interest in this kind of topics. Right now in Tokyo, there is Maciej Pijanowski, where Maciej Pijanowski kind of represents 3M Dep on the micro conference which 3M Dep co-organized with Daniel Kieper, Grab maintainer and also Oracle employee. We did micro conference for many years. It is called System Boot and Security Micro Conference. So on Saturday, 10:25 a.m. Tokyo time or 6:25 Central Europe time, Maciej will talk about FWPD, LVFS, HSI. But of course, this would be second slot of the micro conference, which got, I don't know, 8 talks or something like that. It's like 4 hours or maybe a little bit more of the materials. Yeah, so thanks to Maciej that he representing us there. I could stick to the dates of the DAG and vPub this year. So I'm very happy, and that's the last conference that we have. And yeah, that's how we end the 2025. Regarding plans for 26. Okay, maybe a little bit also, like if you want to know a little bit more about KubeJS Summit, then there is a kind of extensive blog post. Feel free to just go to blog3mdep.com and you will find KubeJS Summit 2025 Berlin kind of report blog post, my notes from talks which were presented during the KubeJS Summit. Some were not recorded, so my notes are probably one of the not many public records of what happened during those talks. Okay, yeah, so here you have a live link if you want to listen Maciej presentation about the future of platform security measurement. And essentially, Maciej will focus here on trying to resolve problems about Intel BootGuard status and how it is possible that we getting lower security status when we disable ME versus when we enable ME. I'm saying regarding the oldest red, green check marks that LVFS, HSI return, which are then exposed in various ways in various UIs. For example, GNOME exposed that in the panel, saying, okay, what kind of level of security we have. I guess KubeJS to some extent also use that, and probably many other distributions will adapt HSI as a way of saying how secure is the device. And that's our contribution to it, and we hope that we will move forward this HSI development because we feel that it is very important to highlight correctly security properties of the platform. Okay, so we organize or co-organize or being guest in 11 events. This is 2 more than in 2024, so last year, but way below our most active year, which was 2021, where we attended 17 events. That was a lot. That was very active. So I don't think we will get back to that level. So for 2026, we plan rather calm, and we don't plan to be active in too many events. But let's go to the roadmap. So in first half of the year, unfortunately, we didn't get the dev room on FOSDEM 26. So I guess like FOSDEM dev rooms group that selects the dev rooms decided that they have to change something. They have to improve. They wanted to eliminate dev rooms which have potential overlap. To some extent, I don't see where the open source firmware fits right now. Maybe to embedded, maybe to confidential computing. That's a separate topic. I guess there were some discussions in the public what happened. But if someone kind of consider what changed in the list of the dev rooms for FOSDEM, one will realize that there is a lot of topics kind of seem to enforced by European Union. There's a lot of policy. There is one dev room which appeared regarding the encrypted messaging. So, the policy about backdoors in the cryptographic algorithms or backdoors in the private chats, and so on and so on. We can have this talk during the vPub because that's definitely something interesting for our community, where privacy and security is very important thing. But luckily, confidential computing dev room accepted our talk about AMD and OpenSteel development. So we will have something about high assurance infrastructure, confidential computing, confidential infrastructure, especially with kind of from the first instruction verification of the code. And this is probably something that I will present. So very likely we can meet each other on FOSDEM in Brussels in February. Okay, then in March we're planning DAG, but there is a change because this is the DAG number 13, and number 14 will be in December. So there will be no DAG in Q2 and Q3. And similar situation will happen with Zarhus Developers Meetup. So you can see that we're not doing Zarhus Developer Meetup in March. We're doing in May. So it's like more than 6 months of break. And then next one will be in October. So that's something that we should, or even in November, sorry. So you can see that there will be 6 months between Zarhus Developers Meetup 4 and Zarhus Developer Meetup 5. And then, of course, there will be just 2 Dasharo User Group and Dasharo Developers vPubs in 2026. We're sorry for that, but there is one thing that we want to introduce, which kind of will still be valuable and will give back something for taking those 2 events. So that event is Boot Security Mastery Conference, which we want to co-organize. This is right now kind of concept. So our focus is the boot chain. And this boot chain we want to kind of analyze from the perspective of owner-controlled root of trust and chain of trust technologies. Of course, ideally with decentralized reproducible builds with bootstrapable toolchain, a la GUIX or StageX. So those technologies are very close to our heart. Of course, we would like to look at the key boot chain components of every major instruction set architecture. So x86, ARM, RISC-V, Power. So those would be very welcome in this conference. And of course, like if there are some bootloaders like systemd or grab, even OS maintained and installed bootloaders, we would like to also kind of end our chain with those components. And beyond that, of course, maybe some applications are important, but the conference kind of want to concentrate on the area from the reset vector to the handoff to operating system. Of course, this cannot be established without diverse spectrum of contributors, and that's why we would like to invite everyone who can sponsor, who wants to sponsor, everyone who would like to speak at the event, and of course everyone who want to attend and contribute at any level, community level, small, medium enterprise level, OEM, ODM, IBVs, researchers, hyperscalers, or even public sector. Yes, so that's something that we want to do, and to do this correctly, we want to do a survey. So we created this website with the CryptPad link to the survey of this conference. So if you want to influence how this conference will look like, there is very little questions. There are some ways of making it providing your own input, but essentially that's it. So the goal is to provide something for home labbers, for privacy focused admins, up to the maintainers of the high assurance infrastructure in hyperscale environment. Before the conference, we're thinking about hosting dedicated pre-conference training days, which will be focused purely on education for practitioners, and hope that this will be our offering from Pace Enterprise Training. So the commercial trainings that 3MDev provide would be possible. This would be place where kind of this would be possible for anyone who to join, because typically right now when we provide training, we kind of expect a group of 12 people at least. Otherwise, it is financially not really feasible. But then we see that there are individuals who want to attend those trainings, so they will be able to join the training, which will be before the conference. And someone can say, okay, how this is different than open source firmware conference? So I think that open source firmware conference focus broadly on the open source firmware, on the projects, on the ecosystem, on the kind of guidelining, and kind of because of the Open Source Firmware Foundation, under which Open Source Firmware Conference will exist. This is more about policy, about creating a good ecosystem for the open source firmware projects. This conference is completely different from the perspective that we want to use open components, but the goal is to create a value in a way that we're building some infrastructure, and we're building infrastructure in the area where open source firmware is most valuable. So boot chain security, trustworthiness, digital sovereignty, owner controlled root of trust, and chain of trust. Those are the topics, and that's the difference between the open source firmware conference and the boot security mastery conference. Plus, we also plan to have these commercial trainings, which are also a little bit different, because at least so far on OSFC there was no commercial training offering, and this would be different for BSMC. Okay, regarding the other events or events that coming, you always can go to eventstream.com to check what's going on. DAG 11 and vPub OX10 were published on YouTube. You can watch the videos, or recommend to everyone who would like to watch those. Zarhus Developers Meetups, also slides published, also playlist published on YouTube. I still didn't deliver the Arch 4221 UEFI Secure Boot and TC3211 Intel Boot Guard. Still, the call for beta testers and call for someone who would like to get early access is open. So if you want, feel free to reach out to me. And I hope that I will have enough time during the Christmas to maybe push that topic forward. But yeah, the hope is always the same. Regarding the Dasharo issues, we have definitely slowed down, but there is explanation for that on further slides. So bear with me. We were very much focused on releasing up to the point in Q3. Then we kind of switched gears and did a lot of upstreaming stuff. And right now we're also preparing some releases, some commercial releases, so we can push those before the Christmas. And those are main reasons for a slowdown of closing the issues. Also, I feel that this does not reflect correct state right now, because when I check the roadmap and check the status of various milestones, despite some releases were delivered, the milestones and the issues were not closed. So I believe we didn't fully accounted in Dasharo issues all possible fixes that we already shipped. Regarding the comments, I guess in comparison to previous quarter, we were less active in comments, but we still have nothing to complain. Yeah, good. GitHub is full of communication. I guess like last period there was like 800 comments. We have right now almost 550. It's not bad. So yeah, hopefully with new platforms we could get interest from other parties, from new members, and then we can get back on track with some more healthy growth. What's changed in top contributors? We have new guys, a new person who was active already in Dasharo community, per Astra ad Deum. By the way, nice nick. So he essentially overthrown Firminator and land at the last position of the top contributors. There are some perks for top contributors, so if you want to use that, feel free. I will let about that know on the further slides. Regarding coreboot PRs, also nothing special, I would say. A little bit better than previous quarter, but on average quite low. Yeah, but that's steady development piece. We opened we grew backlog of opened PRs by 5. So essentially our backlog keeps growing, as you can see, forever. But yeah, if you want to help in review, please join. There is bug bounty program. We would be glad to have someone who helping in reviewing the code. At some point, this code will land in upstream coreboot, but yeah, first we have to do the downstream work. Yeah, I guess that's it. Then upstreaming, and this is a slide which I'm really proud of, because we have record-breaking quarter. We essentially upstreamed over 7,000 lines of code. This didn't happen ever, at least in the history that I measured, because before 2023 we also got the activity and we did the upstreaming effort, but I don't have data from that time, and to be honest, in context of existence of Dasharo, this doesn't make much sense. Essentially, this is 50% more than our previous record of almost 5,000 lines of code. This essentially improve our average quarterly upstreaming by 16% to 3,000 lines of code. So if someone will tell you that 3MDev does not upstream the code, you can essentially point them to the video with this presentation, and there are proofs that that's not true. We upstreaming the code. Of course, the backlog is still huge. Of course, like getting rid of this backlog is kind of very challenging, but at some point we hope that we will gain enough margins so we can push that code. And of course, it would be accepted upstream, because that's also the case where sometimes upstream don't want to take all the changes, or the changes are not good enough for upstream. Yeah, I guess like one of the biggest problem is power. Yeah, where we have like, I don't know, 50,000 lines of code where we kind of sitting on our fork. There are also some people that picking our code from Dasharo, which is not upstreamed, and they upstreaming themselves. Like that's for example, for some protected platforms for which doing releases is no longer kind of valuable market wise, but still code is there, could be upstreamed. So if someone really complains that we don't upstream, yeah, code is there. You can also try to educate yourself and try to upstream. Some people doing that. Okay, so what happened in this upstreaming? So who are our top upstreamers? So Michał Miczyk, our magician, is the top one. He upstreamed the support for Turin SOC. Of course, this is mostly a copy of the Genua POC, but then he started to fix that. adjust and essentially make it work for Gigabyte MZ33AR1 motherboard, and also other stuff like dumping useful information for the AMD CPU, which are needed for making working port. He also started to do some stuff regarding the Phoenix because AMD at the end of Q3 released the OpenSeal for Phoenix, and that's also adding to our backlog certain targets like MSI B850. Then Sergey doing the first one, the IPMI is related, like first one, second one are related to the PowerPC, so Talos 2, our port. So Sergey is slowly kind of getting rid of some of the backlog, but it's a lot of time. And Philip also did some contribution, and most of the work of Philip and a little bit of Sergey was around TopSwap, which we essentially want to resign from using the vboot in coreboot because of various reasons. We should, like, there are some discussion with Chromium team about that, but I will not go into details of that. You can read the coreboot mailing list for that. And then we would like to switch to CBFS verification, which is different mechanism for verification and security of the components, or verification of the components, and kind of building chain of trust in some way in coreboot. But also we would like to have some redundancy, which TopSwap help us implement. Okay, some highlights from the documentation. There is new naming convention. I will talk a little bit about that later. But yeah, there is a page, and you can. Yeah, I guess someone poking Michik. That was intentional or not? Okay. Anyway, you raised your hand and you are muted. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, then the next one is HCL report using an external firmware binary, which is extension to the Dasharo toolsuite. What's going on? Okay, I guess I have to mute that tab because it keeps distracting me. Okay, HCL report using external firmware binary. That's essentially because of some server boards, modern one, being unable to do the zero-touch deployment with the Dasharo toolsuite, or potential need for extraction of some information, which Dasharo toolsuite will support. So because of that, we essentially would like to provide a mechanism where you externally dump the firmware from the SPI flash, and then going into DTS, and in DTS you can parse this to extract some information. More details on the website how this can be used. Okay. Verify Intel bootguard key. This is something that I would like to also talk at the end of my kind of segment on the roadmap. But the point here is that right now you can use a script which is in DTS to verify that the manifest of your BIOS and the keys fused matching, and that's the point of this feature. So for those who would like to read the code how we're doing this, and then verify if their BIOS is correctly fused, then they can use this tool. Okay, we also created a new YouTube channel, 3MDep Lite, which with the goal of having kind of place for showcasing unpolished demos, some experiments, some stuff behind the scenes, essentially completely like not scientific like, or maybe not extensive deep dives, or very kind of maybe for someone even boring too long rant about technology, but this one is more like in showcasing, in very practical demoing, and kind of being short, maybe even without too much talking, more showing. We will see how well this will go. Right now, 1 subscriber. We will see if after publishing some videos, this will change. Regarding statistics for EDK2 downstream, we have not so much activity. To be honest, this is significant slowdown. We are essentially slowing down quarter by quarter. This is our lowest quarter merge count in this repository. Typically, average tempo was 14 PRs per quarter, calculated from last 10 quarters. But this time we just hit it like 4 or something like that. So this is like very, very slow. But apparently we don't have need right now for making too much changes in the EDK2 downstream, Dasharo downstream. Stars keeps growing, so if you have GitHub account, feel free to go there, give us a star. It's way below what some cool projects have, but yeah, we understand that open source firmware is niche and maybe not everyone knows about our existence. Okay, regarding activity on Matrix, also slow down. Like last quarter was 2K comments, this time over 1K. But I'm very happy because we kind of hit a milestone with 500 users on Dasharo space on Matrix. That's really great. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone who made it happen. And like I hope we will grow. Who knows? Maybe at some point we will overgrow other open source firmware communities. And yeah, I guess this is just a matter of deliverables and making releases, making something interesting. So if you have any ideas how we could improve that, please let us know. I know I'm a little bit behind the schedule, so I would like to talk about top contributors. If you are in the top contributors, please note that you are eligible to get unlimited access to the Dasharo Pro package. So whatever Dasharo Pro package binaries you want, contact us. Just send contact at dasharo.com and let us know that this is your email and you are that person from the community who's in the top contributors, and we would be glad to add you to all the Dasharo Pro packages which are right now. And then if you want to buy hardware, you will get 15% discount on hardware sold by 3MDev, excluding dropshipping, because dropshipping is essentially on different margins and we cannot provide this kind of discount. Okay, that's what I said, so I don't think we have to discuss this one. Activity on channels, like as always, random channel is very active, support channel, laptops channel, of course, general is somewhere in between, but that's it. Bug bounty, you can just use this link for or just select the label on the GitHub to get the bug bounty. We closed some. There are 8 closed one. There are 9 open. The activity is kind of moderate. We have like a couple people, but not many deliver. It seems to be maybe hard, but we will try to help you. So if there is also any way that how we can help and improve this bug bounty process, help you on your way to deliver some and earn some bounty, then please let us know. There is also video which Philip recorded some time ago, so maybe that's helpful. I saw that there is quite a lot of likes there, like quite a lot, like 15 or something, but it's already a lot for our videos, and I guess that's some people watching it that maybe considering taking the bug bounty. Okay, that's it for this segment. And next one is
hello.
Yeah, we are already in the.
Hello.
Yeah, I should take 10 minutes, so I'm way behind the schedule, as always.
Can you hear me?
Let me switch to the.
But Piotr doesn't hear me.
Switch to the release.
He's not hearing anyone, I think.
So I will try to go through releases.
Maybe he has no output working. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, he muted.
Yeah, in that way, I will not leave too much space for.
Guys, can you hear me?
And we will delay start
of
the vPub. Okay, as always, trying to stick to the roadmap. yeah, I guess this is also not needed to explain. DAC 11 was published. Some changes in the nomenclature. So we essentially introduce, I guess, like the edition was already known. So we typically saying Dasharo core boot plus payload, like core boot plus payload, or slim bootloader plus payload, or UFI. It depends. Then we have various payloads: UFI heads, CBIOS, maybe U-boot. At least we know there is something on the roadmap. We will see when we can deliver. Then there is edition. We discussed Pro Enterprise. So Pro is essentially like what community buys to support us. Enterprise is essentially what business buys to support us. And then community is essentially something that we produce and publish without any fee, without any need for the package. Then we introduce kind of section which will distinguish a level of validation: rapid, assured, and LTS. So typically right now, almost all releases were LTS, so very extensive testing cycle. But we adding two new areas of testing. So rapid is very minimalistic testing. I mentioned rapid, maybe not rapid. I mentioned it last time. Call it non-LTS, where we have essentially 10, 13 tests, kind of a way how Mr. Chromebox does it. Like when he essentially do very simple tests because he's don't have enough time for doing release for all those devices. He essentially booting, and if it's booting and basic things work, then that means it's released. So essentially, Rapid tries to mimic that kind of way of releasing. And Rapid will also contain hot fixes. So essentially, when there is a microcode update, where there is a database update for the secure boot, or other very kind of security sensitive stuff, we will probably do the Rapid. We will not do full LTS, because LTS is very expensive, takes a lot of time, and essentially we would delay shipping the bug fixes. Assured is kind of something between Rapid and LTS, but Assured, you can say, is a Rapid, so minimal regression, plus some area. Let's say we fixed USB, then we're doing USB test. We fixed something related with FreeBSD installation, we validating FreeBSD and deliver this test results. And that's what's assured. And then the change is at the end, where we essentially not saying for which market segment, because this get old very quickly and essentially nobody using it that way. But everyone's saying Dasharo for MSI Z690, yeah, or whatever. Okay, so this is how it looked like. Last time I reported in Q3 we had 7 releases, but really we had 10, because to the end of the month we delivered even more. By the way, some releases were even delivered during the point of the when I did the presentation. I get the information that some releases were published, so I couldn't incorporate that into the statistics. This quarter will be kind of less active. We will see how many Dasharo support package releases we will do. For now, we have 3 releases, very small one, the community one, but from the Dasharo Pro package, the MSI ones, and I don't remember which one was the third one, but we will get to that on the further slides. Okay, yeah, I guess we are keeping the 6 releases per quarter tempo, and not much changing here. So right now we have 24 releases in this year. Last year there was 27. So we probably will hit this around 27 in this year, because there are still some. There may be PC Engines release. There is Nova Custom. I don't know if Protect is planned. Maybe Protecti also. So those releases will probably appear. This diagram is something that I'm really proud of, because there is new kid on the block here. This one, which is essentially our server market. So we added another segment, like you can say maybe final segment, because I don't know if there can be any other computer market segments here in this list, unless you divide some of those. But anyway, we got new segment. There is one release which happened last quarter. So yeah, really congratulations to the Michał Kopacz for doing that. Of course, that was thanks to the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. because they did the base port of AS Rack. But anyway, the point is we have servers, and that's something that I'm very happy. I hope there will be more of this kind of violet colors in this diagram. This one I didn't update. I didn't have time for that. But anyway, regarding the QEMU, not much progress. We're still planning to have those community releases. Those are mostly for OS open source firmware validation, at least right now, unless to the point where confidential computing will be the thing, and they would like to have better, more transparent, maybe more minimal, different BIOS for the trustworthy VMs. Regarding the PC engines, the 0.91 was released on 27th November. It's on the docs.dasharo.com. Unfortunately, the 2509.0001, so core boot plus CBIOS, was not released. But Michik let me know that this is he already rebased the code on. So we have the rebase of patch QE, and then we just have to go through the validation cycle and do the release if, of course, there is no regression. It was really cool to have to talk with Andrew during the CubesOS Summit hackathon. He essentially gave us a lecture about how he doing the patch QE management for the Zen server, and that's very cool. That was great lesson. A lot of input for PC Engine's release. And we hope to use that knowledge for the future management of the patch QE of the PC Engine's core boot plus CBIOS. Regarding the release, maybe that's the not most important. That's the important piece. So 0.91, so core boot plus UEFI. What it gives you switch from the core boot 421 to 2412, which is around 3.5 years of upstream improvements, which is, in my opinion, a lot. Then we also switched the base for the EDK2 from 2020-02, which we used it for quite a long time, to 2025-02. So this is 5 years of UEFI stack improvements, assuming that those are really not regressions, but improvements. Of course, like we validated to some extent this release. And but yeah, I guess bug fixes and security fixes are important. So if you care about it, please pick it up. And iPXE also moved quite a lot for 2 years of development or something like that. Then vboot also was changed. It's 12 months of vboot development, as well as probably 5 years of the DBX revocation list update, because we used the October one, which contains quite a lot of new stuff after all these grab vulnerabilities and all the other stuff. So yeah, I guess it's quite extensive release, which improved the security of the platform quite a lot. I decided to remove this VP 4670. So we had hopes that we will do trench boot on this core boot plus CBIOS. But in reality, we don't have time for that. There are higher priorities. We would like to take care about the new platforms, and this essentially going nowhere, at least right now. So I'm right now removing it. I don't know if this will not get back on track because of some needs of trench boot testing. But right now, I guess like that's it. I will not report that all the time that I'm shifting this release to the future. Odroid H4 Plus was released in September. I already reported on last DAG. Same for Slim Bootloader plus UEFI. It also reported. So the hope was that we will need this for hardware I/O, but hardware I/O was cancelled. So that's why we shifting the 092 to Q1. And to be honest, I'm not sure if this will be in Q1. It really depends on the needs, on our needs or on training needs. This is our default training platform. Very likely, if I will contribute to IST2, my materials for UEFI Secure Boot, it's very likely I will need this release. So yeah, we'll see. yeah, this is how it looked like. It's not very extensive, but it got a lot of like kind of small weird freezes. The SMM got its problems, especially on Slim bootloader. On Slim bootloader base framework. But yeah, I guess there is some mix here, and we really don't know if this is what's the root cause here. Yeah, the division of the issues could be better. Regarding heads for Nova Custom, the release was in Q2. We really don't plan to follow the like every month or every week or whatever rolling release or lack of release in heads is. That's not our goal. So right now we don't have plan, but I think by the next Dasharo User Group I have to announce something, because in 2026 we definitely will do release, and of course there will be some negotiation and questions based on which heads we're doing that release. Regarding Optiplex, yeah, I to be honest, I don't know what will happen with Optiplex. It is good platform for some trench boot testing. It has certain properties that are helpful in that, but on the other side, the user base is not big, and essentially platform does not bring any revenue to 3MDev. So it's like more like a experimental checking kind of legacy platform. But still, we have 2 milestones which are related to trench boot. So for now, I'm keeping it, and we will see what will happen, if we will deliver something, or I will have to say that those will be cancelled. Regarding MSI, we last time introduced this non-LTS. This time we're changing the name to Rapid, but essentially 2 releases happen. One I already reported last time. This was version 1.1.5. This time I'm reporting adding the 1.1.6, which was released. Also, it happens that there was some small mistake in the previous release regarding including the microcode. But anyway, Michik reported that over the matrix, let everyone know, and we essentially right after realizing that did the another release which fixed the microcode to the most recent version. And because of that, we decided to shift the community release to Q1. I know we're shifting it all the time, but this is what it is. We didn't have time to. We essentially have to do full rebase of the code on the most recent. So Dasharo have to be rebased because it's right now on 24.12. We have to rebase to probably 25.09, or maybe even, I don't know if 25.12 will be the one which we will rebase to. We will see. Depends on the core boot release cycle. But anyway, right now I'm thinking about 2 releases, 2 community releases in 2026 for MSI Pro Z690. And the same is for the, I guess that's explanation of the rapid release concept, which is essentially what I already said about minimal testing. This is information about to what version of the microcode we updated in 1.1.6. And yeah, and this is information about Z790 release cycle, which essentially mimics the Z690A. So we will have community release in Q1, and we had 0.94, which addressed the microcode piece. Okay, this is very important thing for some people who using Dasharo Core Boot Plus heads on the MSI. There are a lot of people who bought this from NitroKey, and it happened that we had a regression, which I would like to discuss here. So we got these known issues in Dasharo toolsuite when essentially deploying or transitioning from UEFI to heads not working. And we have these issues 1536 and 1631, which are kind of concerning many users and to some extent break our promise about providing this feature. So we plan to fix this this quarter, hopefully. essentially this will remove broken heads workflow, and we will get back to the service that we provided. But that doesn't mean that we will provide newer Dasharo Coreboot Plus heads. We will just re-enable what we broke, the ability to transition, and that's the point of this fix. Yeah, so we would like to make sure that this is backward compatibility and it works, but we also have to say that we will end our support for Dasharo Coreboot Plus heads in 2026. We don't plan to do it. Essentially, the problem is that the volume for that, like number of platforms sold versus and the contribution that we get and complaints that we get and problems that we get is nowhere near that effort, which needs to support that. Is nowhere near to the money that have to be spent for developers and their time and validation team to deliver that. So essentially, this is economically not feasible. So unless we will kind of redesign the business model around Coreboot Plus heads, most likely meaning the easiest way would be charge for it way more. Then we will probably not do it because this doesn't make sense. We have to pay our developers. We are not hobbyists. We are not like we are, of course, hobbyists after work, but we have to pay people, and without that, we're just wasting money, which could be used in better way. Okay, server roadmap. So there is a plan for ASRock 0.91 release in Q1. I hope this will happen. There is a lot of interest around that platform. We already sold some. So yeah, it's like we're really glad that Karlsruhe Institute, so Fabian, Felix, and Yusuf made this port and made this possible. And we hope this release, this server line of Dasharo will grow. Regarding you can go to the shop, you can buy it. Sorry for the small font. I should make the picture bigger. So, but you can go to the shop and find the Dasharo supported hardware and find more about the platforms which are supported. One of it is this ASRock server. Another server that we're planning is based on AMD, much modern. It's AMD OpenSea based Turin platform based on Gigabyte MZ33AR1, which we plan to release in Q1. There is a lot of blog posts which you can read. Really great blog posts, get a lot of traction on Hacker News. Those were written by Michik, and by the way, Michik was like #1 contributor to this project and did most of the work. So thank you, Michik, and I guess Michik going to some vacation, some longer vacation. So it's definitely deserved after this long hacking of the OpenSea. By the way, a bunch of these patches already landed in OpenSea, so AMD already merged our, 4,000 lines of code or something like that, contribution to OpenSea. Okay, yeah, you can go, and there is already, if you are interested in this platform, you can kind of inquiry, so we will know that you need that information. There are two more things that I want to say. This slide was already on the last meeting, last quarter, but we're still preparing the Dasharo Security Bulletin. We want to base on the Zen Security Advisory and Cube's security bulletins. We really are inspired about the way how the Zen and Cube's handling security. We are nowhere near. We would like to learn, and that's why we have to create the Dasharo Security Bulletin. Kamil Aronowski is responsible for that in 3MDeb, and we really have to publish some security bulletins to inform everyone about the things which are behind the scenes. And one of these things I would like to let you know right now. Just let me quickly switch my there is one small snafu that happened in 3MDeb in the trust root. Just give me a second. So essentially, I want to kind of partially read something which is which is a statement of kind of humble admitting a problem that was discovered on the 5th of December. So we discovered an issue in recent version 1.0.0 release for the Nova Custom Meteor Lake iGPU laptops. So it covers V54 TU and V56 OTU. As you know, at 3M Dev Dasharo, we value this transparency. We made mistake, and I want to explain what happened and how we reacted and what are the next steps. So on this December 5th, we identified a critical issue with the binaries that were exposed on the cloud as releases. So due to human error during the manual part of our release process, where we did the upload of the binaries, the signed, we didn't use the signed binaries that we received from Wessel, but we used the one which are signed with the developer key, which is essentially, of course, problem probably with the naming and too similar naming and so on and so on. But essentially that was human error, which essentially leads to situation that we exposed as a end of manufacturing binaries, one which are with the developer keys. So whoever did the fusing with those binaries got the platform fused with the developer keys. And of course, if you didn't do trust root fusing, then you are not affected. But if you did, then we will post information what to do with that. But essentially, that mismatch caused irreversible change of the fuses inside SoC. And essentially, this logs the firmware with a key, which was developer key, but this key does not exist because that's ephemeral keys, which is like produced every build. So we essentially don't have that key. So we cannot produce valid update for those BIOSes. And that's the essentially biggest issue here. And we discovered that trying to release the update, but of course, that's a huge mistake, and we are really sorry for that. That's totally on us. And we will, of course, make everything to fix the issue, pay the whatever is needed, and of course fix the process so this not happen again. So as soon as we discovered this error, we immediately removed the affected binaries from the FTP to prevent any further devices from being impacted. We have also paused the ability for the users to perform fusing on those specific models. And then after this true technical analysis, we know that those devices being fused with these incorrect binaries, and the situation is irreversible. So because the hardware is now locked to a non-production key, these units cannot accept any further updates. This means that to restore full functional maintainability and long-term security of those devices, the main board must be replaced. And of course, Wessel knows about the problem, and we will coordinate and working right now with hand in hand with Wessel and Nova Custom team to handle this efficiently. And yeah, this is all our responsibility. That's 3M Dev mistake, and we will try to fix that as soon as possible. And of course, before on the earlier slides, I showed the verification tool. So the verify Intel bootguard key in Dasharo toolsuite. So if you will use the most recent Dasharo toolsuite, you can use the tool to check to what key you were fused, and in that way you can verify if it is Nova Custom or not Nova Custom. And that's kind of initial check. If you did trust root fusing, then you should do this first thing. So one more time, really sorry for that. Of course, we all learning, but that's definitely very bad situation and shouldn't happen. But sometimes things happen that shouldn't happen, and that's something that we will try to fix and work to not happen again. I guess I'm not sure I have more words for that. Okay, sorry. I guess I'm way behind the schedule because of that. I have one last presentation, I guess. I will try to answer questions later when maybe in chat. After the presentation with the products. Oh, okay, you should see my presentation slow. Okay, do you see my slides from Shameless Plug?
Yeah. Can you hear us right now?
I guess you see my slides.
Yes, we see, but you're still muted probably on that.
Okay. Yeah. So this is our Shameless Plug. I hope that I will change a little bit the mood because, like, you know, the atmosphere kind of felt like in grave with these problems, but we have to move on and fix and repent, and then hopefully you will still trust in our abilities to fix things and do things transparently. Getting back to what kind of helps us move on and not go bankrupt. So little bit about the products. Regarding the SD wire, some people buying that and using that for testing. We did the restock. Right now we have, I guess it's spending quite a big amount of SD wires. We're just validating those, but the restock is huge. So there was like a week or something that it was not available, but now it's again available. So everyone who is interested can use it. Twonky USB-C sniffer. There are around 30 in stock. From time to time, someone buying this, using it. There is not much attention around this product. We trying to onboard new product. Of course, we facing kind of false promise of the open source hardware, where we're trying to refresh the hardware bill of material, and it happened that it's very hard to find the replacement and so on and so on. But yeah, that's very nice USB sniffer, which is open source hardware. What's this interesting? It does the dumps which are compatible with Wireshark, and you can essentially open Wireshark to look at the USB protocol, which can be useful for some testers. This one is something that I have a lot of hopes in. USB Armory, it's very well known. Andrea, formerly F-Secure, did a lot around this project. And we even at some point discussed potential of running Fobnail, so the attestation server on a token. And we slowly get back to that project, and that's the first step. Of course, with USB Armory, there are already inquiries. There are people interested in buying it. There are not many places where you can buy it, but also the hardware bill of materials is not updated on the repository, and that's kind of what delays the development. And we hope to explain whole story, write a blog post to tell a horror story of, okay, this is open source hardware, but how real is this promise? Yeah. Then this one is very cool thing. Of course, this is just a random picture from internet. It's not this product, but I had to kind of visualize it for you a little bit. The point is to create a custom PCB featuring a PC to USB converter, which is designed to expose external USB ports in the devices like Nova Custom Nukebox, but it's not limited to those. The point is to achieve the CubesOS certification, which essentially requires separate USB controller, and then that USB for the I guess keyboard, so you cannot have everything under one USB controller, and so for disaggregation of the and having some better security. So that's requirement from CubesOS team for having certification, and we would like to have open source hardware component like this. Of course, chip to some extent will be closed. We don't plan to do any RISC-V designs, But on the other side, we will see if that will be successful. We hope that we can, with this project, we can go through kubes certification on the devices like Protect the Nova Custom, Nuke boxes, maybe even others. So hope to grow the number of kubes certified devices. We already talked about ASRock. Small notes about those that offering. The important piece is that we're selling this configuration, and that's the configuration that we tested. So right now, with the shortages of the memories, there may be some problem that certain types of memory will not work as expected. Of course, we will work very close with anyone who's trying this hardware, who wants to boot a different memory. But of course, the priority will be for those who bought from us and those who want to contribute to Dasharo or to open source firmware ecosystem in wider scope. Those who kind of treating it as a bring your own device will have to wait a little bit, because the offering for those people will be more later, closer to the probably Q1, Q2 2026. But that's the configuration that we validated. That configuration works. With your help, with your support, we can validate more configurations. We can extend the offering, and that's the point of growing the Dasharo offering on servers. Gigabyte coming soon, and you can already inquire for it, so we know that we should ship. You can also ask for other hardware for different configuration. That also would be helpful, of course, if there is justification and if there is kind of hope that you will obtain the full build from us, then we can consider validating different configurations. That's the time for doing this inquiry to us. We still have MSIs. We plan to add the different MSI, the MSI Pro B850 with the AM5 Phoenix processor, which is like AMD solution, and that's probably closer to end of Q1, maybe somewhere in Q2. We will see first half of the 2026. But still, there are still full builds of the MSI Pro. If you're looking for that hardware, which is already proven to work, feel free to get it from our shop. Optiplex, though this is like already quite old, but we still are trying to build some experimental features on top of that, like trench boot support. Odroid was released in September, as I already mentioned in the previous presentation. It got most recent secure boot databases. And if you want to either do some experiments on it or build some applications, maybe high assurance stuff, then this is something for you. Dropshipping of the laptops is always present. If you're buying through our website, the Nova Custom laptops, we get some small fee from that, which also help us maintain the other platforms. So yeah, if you have a choice and you wonder how to do this, like always go through 3M website, and always recommend going through 3M Dev website. So we can also use that margins for the purpose of building better ecosystem in open source firmware. PCNGs refurbished, some like really last of this species. This is last of its kind. We're selling those with TPM 2.0 and 3 years of Dasharo Pro package. Of course, people saying, this is slow performance, this is old, and so on and so on. But on the other side, it is very low TDP, very stable, extremely stable with the OpenSense, pfSense. Then it is open, like to some extent, it is open hardware, because the schematics are PDFs of schematics are public. So if you really care about something which is like high assurance, something that you can verify to some extent, this is probably best choice. And last pieces on the art. Yeah. Dropshipping of the Protect is still available on our site if you want to support us that way. Dasharo Pro package for desktop, for network appliance, still available. You can buy it. We probably will change the prices because of the inflation and so on. But right now it is what it is. Then there's also Slim bootloader for network appliance if someone use it, or transition to the core Bluetooth heads for laptops. Some other accessories, privacy screen, everything in shop3mdeb.com. We have some services. You can go to product category Dasharo services to understand a little bit about that, to understand a little bit about our pricing. Many people buying this one, the support package, 10 hours. So if you need something around open source firmware, you don't understand Samaria, you need some consultation, it's always a pleasure to deliver the value to those who wants to build something on top of the open source firmware. A bunch of products in Zarhus ecosystem. Those are a little bit different. Mostly embedded Linux integration if someone wants that. Either audio, either Bluetooth, either some applications or some display support. Many people coming with the hard problems of the either video acceleration, either camera support, either some display support to Zarhus team, and that team knows how to do this and enable this all the time. Those are various services related to installation, to secure boot, and so on, to custom building. Yeah, there is also like embedded Linux team, so Zarhus team support package. If you want that, feel free to take a look. Some nice updates from the team. We finally updated the memory HCL. So if you're looking for the DDR5 memories compatible with Z790p, there is already a list. You can go to Dasharo, docs.dasharo.com. I know many people asked for that for a very long time. We finally made it. We extracted the information from Dropped HCLs. There is quite a lot of new entries there, so please feel free to check this. This was done today. I guess that's it from my side. I'm sorry for being so late. I guess that's Mateusz time for already 6 minutes. So I mute myself and give the stage to Mateusz.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Mateusz Maciejewski, and I'm going to update you about current status of open source firmware validation. So here's a little agenda. I will talk about basics of OSFV and what it is and how important it is for FreeMDeb. I will show some statistics from recent months. I will talk about some changes that are already implemented and also stuff that is work in progress and our future plans. And there will be place for some questions. Introduction to open source firmware validation. Open source firmware validation is basically our most important validation environment for Dasharo firmware, plus some other components. It's based around the robot framework, and it's updated to 7.3, but it already contains some. This is our fork of robot framework with some changes. We're using it to detect regression in next Dasharo releases, and it contains mostly automated tests, plus some semi-manual interactive tests using dialog library. Why we even consider having a semi-manual tests? We want test artifacts. We want output. We want logs, and even in case where something must be performed manually, like some hardware reconfiguration or maybe some input, we still want to produce logs, or sometimes a bigger part of the test case is automated with some manual input or manual parts to perform. Then we are using dialogs library. Dialogs is very limited and also unlimited, you can say, because there's few possibilities to interact with user. This window is an example of what can be done, and we're moving our manual test library to robots. So OS firmware validation contains also a manual part of our testing process. We keep configuration of all Dasharo platforms in tree-like structure. There's some inheritance, so all platform-specific information is kept in text files, but there are few levels of it. So some common information, some common configuration for the whole family of the products can be kept in include directory. And also there are there are many ways of control and connectivity to DUT, like PyKVM, like Telnet, using our RT product, and number of tests can be executed with SSH. This is performed on a platform that either don't have serial connectivity or it's somehow limited. I said that we want logs. Yes, logs are very important. We're in open source firmware validation, we're keeping logs in the subdirectories, which is exclusive to our environment. Here you can see what's the naming scheme. It's platform config. It's and the last part is an execution containing basically three main parts. One is dir prefix, which is optional. Next is platform config. It's the name of the DOT. It's, for example, some notebook model. And the last part is a timestamp. Dir prefix is an environment shell variable that we are setting to identify some release, or for example, some smaller test run, like reproduction, like verifying some change in the firmware. Then dir prefix can be set to identify what exactly we are doing and where to. It makes navigating through the logs easier. Each log contains 4 files. First is XML, and we are using it for further processing. We have some additional tools that are not the parts of open source firmware validation that are very helpful, and we're getting some information from those XMLs because they are not very friendly to be processed by reading by human. 2x files are human readable HTMLs. One of them is a test report, which is not so complex, and the other one, this is something that we're working on a daily basis, is a test log. An example part of the test log you can see in this slide. This might provide even some debug information if something went wrong. We must know very quickly if this is issue of the validated artifacts, or this is environment issue or open source firmware validation issue. We also have a fourth file. It is a log file. This is basically raw communication between open source firmware validation and the DOT. And this may be helpful to check what exactly is happening on the DOT side if things are going to take too much time. This is something that sometimes we know that something takes too much time, and this is the first way to see if the DOT is alive, and we're waiting for something sensible. Some statistics. Those are PRs. Those are grand total of the PRs that are in the open source firmware validation directory. We have not much of them recently, but you can see that there is a stable increase in the numbers, and this is the difference. from month to month. And this is more interesting because this is statistic of what we exactly have in our test modules. We're calling those parts test modules. I will talk about them later. This is on the left. This is the Dasharo compatibility. This is the biggest group of our tests. Test suits are checking mostly functionality of the hardware of the or the hardware of the or the functionalities of the firmware that are related usually to some peripheral or something built in the platform. Dasharo security is, well, this is very important to our company. Dasharo stability is that are tests that are some more or less related to some power cycles, sometimes hundreds of them. Reboots, cold boots, warm boots, etc. Sleeps of any kind. Dasharo performance is self-explaining. We have some benchmarks, we have some measures, and those four groups are most important groups of our tests, and because they are Dasharo centric. Yes, Dasharo compatibility is the biggest one. Dasharo stability and performance is most time consuming. Here's the difference, and we have a -10 in Dasharo performance. This is because some redesign of our validation environment I will talk about later, and significant changes. It's already implemented and it is possibility to run tests simultaneously, and it affected the Dasharo performance module. On the left side, you can see serial execution of the performance tests, and CPT, CPF, and STB are the names of the test suits. CPT is CPU temperature, CPF is CPU frequency, and STB is platform stability. And in some cases, STB suit was like nightly. It was more than 10 hours. It can be shorter, but usually it was something that we left on a night to execute. CPT and CPF were also time consuming because we need to observe the state of the DUT under the load, with no load, but time is also count in hours. And now on the right, you can see new way of test execution. This example is limited to CPT and CPF, but well, this is significant benefit in time of test execution. And here are some data. With a sequential execution, it was almost 3 hours for CPU temperature, 2 hours for CPU frequency, plus at least 1 hour for stability tests of the platform. And these data are limited to Fedora. We usually perform all of them on separately on Ubuntu, on Fedora, and on Windows. And for each of the operating systems, this is much of the time. And below you can see what happens with concurrent execution of those tests. The whole process is shrank to 2 hours. This is huge benefit, and this is something that improves our release process, because we can react quicker for the issues, because this is not 2 hours is something that can be executed on a workday. This is not nightly anymore. Open WRT tests. we have some basic automation for OpenWRT. Installation of the operating system is basically done by writing OS image to the hard drive. So we're using DTS. DTS is Dasharo Tool Suite. You probably already heard about this one. And we have automated installation. The thing is that normally we would have some, we would limit ourselves to some preset image of the OpenWRT, customized and with all the packages that are required, etc. But at the time of development of this test suite, these images were not available to some level. So this is prepared like this. So any kind of, basically any distribution image of OpenWRT can be taken and installed semi-automatically without any changes on the image itself. All the configuration is done after the reboot. And packages are installed and network devices are configured, so the platform with OpenWRT is fully connectable in our lab environment, and tests can be executed. You can see the scope. These cold boot, warm boot, and reboot tests are time measuring. We're probably going to go further with this. And we're going to switch to our customized OpenWRT images in the future. Microcode revision testing is a new feature. It's based on a cbmem command output. Microcode is sometimes included in the Dasharo releases, and obviously something can go wrong, either in a image preparation process or in an update process. So we're checking if microcode has been updated and what is the version of it. In progress and planned, we have Qubes OS test cases in OSFV. Qubes has been introduced as another Linux environment. It has its NVID. It's 200, which means Linux, and 3, which means it's third, because 1 is for Ubuntu and 2 is for Fedora. Tests for the Qubes are distributed between modules and between suites because, well, we are going to the state where Qubes tests are not differing much from the other distributions, so we don't have them grouped in separate module and separate test suites. At the moment, we have 28 test cases in total, automated. I'm not counting tests that are in some transitional state. And when I started to prepare this slide, it was not done. Now it's those 28 tests are already in open source firmware validation. And this is not part of open source firmware validation, but part of our validation environment as a whole. KubeOS installation is now possible with preset that we're distributing. So it's much easier because Kube's installation is something that takes time and knowledge. It's not easy and it's not fast, but it's very rewarding. Open source firmware validation priorities for the future. So we're already working, and we will be working on reduction of non-essential power cycles, like, for example, power offs and power ons that are part of setting the duty state, but are not related to tested functionality. Because this is huge cost in our validation process. For example, at the beginning of execution of the test, we're going to the Dasharo menu to set state of some options. And it's power off and reboot, and sometimes it's more than once. Some tests are just rebooting operating system sometimes without love by cold boot. So this is something that we're aware of. Some works have been done, but I think we're going to do this on a bigger scale to maybe group some tests, some operations, and to reduce the impact. This is also quite important when multiple OSs are booted, because some of them, I'm not going to point at the Windows at the moment, are more or less potent to fail next boot. So this is something that interferes our testing processes. And with reduced number of non-essential power cycles, the whole validation process will be quicker and more reliable. And the other feature that is planned is open source firmware validation, versioning, and release cycle. And we want to return to versioning open source firmware validation, and we will put some strong CI on it, because we need more stabilization here. We want to have some points in the past that we can revert to be able to switch to the environment that was stable and tested. And that's basically it. This is something that is going on. Some discussions are going about how it should be done. But this will be a huge environment in our validation processes. Are there any questions?
Okay, thanks, Mateusz. Oh, Andrew asking.
Yes.
Hello. You said about microcode validation. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're doing there?
Yes, but there's not much to talk about. This is testing of the microcode revision that either have been included to part of the update or not.
Yes, just basically checking if the revision of the updated microcode on the CPU during the BIOS post is actually expected. So, for example, we hardcode the revision of the microcode we expect from given binary and verify on the hardware that the CPU runs on this expected microcode revision, and that's it.
So what's that? Is that checking proc CPU ID at the point that Linux is booted, or is that somewhere earlier?
No, it checks the debug logs from core boot when it prints the MSR with the microcode revision after the update process after the microcode is applied. So it reads the information from the hardware.
Let's talk about some of this offline then.
Okay, seems like
unfortunately not quite as reliable as one might hope.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay, are there any other questions?
We have to, Andrew, kind of consider the most reliable one. If one exists, I guess like none is reliable.
Well, technically, if you upload some microcode, it can lie about the information that is exported via the MSR. So that's...
Well, no, it's not even that. AMD microcode has a general bug in it that the operating systems have been told to work around by ignoring the revision check and doing something else anyway. You can end up in a position where it claims it's one revision but hasn't actually taken it. So you need to be aware of that.
There's something with your mic, Andrew, but some short. But in this case, it's probably right now mostly Intel. But yeah, good point. Good point that there are problems with that. Okay, I guess like we are tight on schedule. I would like to switch to Filip. Thank you, Mateusz. That was a great presentation. We know what's going on in firmware validation right now. And yeah, and let's switch to Philip's presentation.
Hello, can you hear me well?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. So, hello, I'm Filip Gałaś. I'm a junior embedded firmware developer at FreeMDAP, and I'd like to tell you something about the first steps of integrating Windows Hardware Lab Kit into the Dasharo Hardware Certification Lab. So let's build some vocabulary here. You might have probably heard about one or more of those names here. Windows Hardware Lab Kit or its predecessors are being worked on since about 2000s. Microsoft used tools like hardware compatibility tests for Windows 2000 and XP, driver test manager for Windows Vista, Windows Logo Kit, which was quickly renamed to Windows Hardware Certification Kit, and now for modern versions like Windows 10, 11, or modern server versions, this tool is named Windows Hardware Lab Kit. So every time you see a Windows sticker, like those you can see on the right, this hardware, this laptop, PC, sometimes a game controller or printer, they were tested using Windows Hardware Lab Kit. And why it's actually interesting to us? Well, first, it's an industry-known tool that's being used by pretty much every vendor of any kind of hardware. If they want to Windows users to use it, they will test it in Windows HLK. If it comes to hard numbers, there are nearly 5,000 unique test cases there. All of them target just Windows, but thanks to that, the coverage is huge. Open source firmware validation at this moment has just shy of 1,500 test cases, but it's not nearly as old as HLK. So you have tests like audio, video, network connectivity, wireless. You have some ports like NVMe, PCI Express, SATA. HLK tests also drivers, not only the devices. There are actually a lot of security tests regarding the TPM, secure boot, and disk encryption tests. An interesting one is tests for TXT DMA protection ranges. HLK calls it TPR, I think. There are also a couple of Windows-specific security features like Windows Device Guard or Windows Credential Guard. The interesting thing about all of this is that by executing all of these tests, by using list of tests that Microsoft shares for all kinds of devices, if you run all of them, if you show the results to Microsoft, you can get a certification to use the Windows logo, so those stickers on your devices. There's also this interesting thing called Windows Secured Core PC. We are suspicious that Windows HLK is being used to certify devices for being Windows Secured Core PC, but there are actually no public sources that would claim that. Maybe if we actually start working with them and start certifying some hardware, we will know more. At this moment, it's not public, I think. So what HLK is about in regards to architecture, you have like the basic lab setup would be one server device and one client device, like a laptop. On the device, you have to have two components: an HLK controller, which is a background daemon agent that connects to the DUT, to the clients, execute tests, gathers the results, manages the test runs. And there's HLK Studio, which is just a GUI for creating projects, for viewing the results. And there's the HLK client. Interesting thing goes there. There is no like installer published for HLK client to install it on a device. You connect like to the network share of the HLK server, and from there you download the exe file that will install the client. I'd like to compare HLK with OSFV when it comes to architecture for a while, because of those controllers, which there can be more than one actually, and this HLK Studio. HLK is a bit more centralized than OSFV. In OSFV, there's just the Snippet instance. Like, it's a web app that you can go to and just check that this device is checked out to you. No one should interfere with your tests, and that's all. If you don't want to use Snippet, you don't have to. The tester's workstation connects directly to the DUT via SSH or via RTE. In HLK, you need to connect to HLK Studio to manage the tests. Then you need the studio to connect to HLK controller on the server, and the controller then will run the tests. It's not as bad as might seem though, because centralization has its good parts. Because of that, the HLK controllers can actually do a lot of fun stuff like run tests in parallel, or run tests that require multiple devices to work together, like connect them via Bluetooth. In OSFV, that would be extremely hard to do it P2P way. For just small tests we've been performing here at FreeMDep, we decided to host an Windows server, because we need a Windows server machine to run HLK. We decided to run it on a VM in Proxmox. Our server that runs Proxmox uses a Xeon E5620, which is a bit old. As it turns out later, we've used 12 gigabytes of RAM. If you use less than 4, Windows Server won't boot. If you use less than 2 cores, that is 1, it won't boot. We use 70 gigabytes of disk space. Microsoft suggests 32, but if you use that, you would have like 1 gigabyte left, and one log of tests takes about 500 megabytes, so it's infeasible. And to actually run Windows on a VM, we had to connect a CD drive with VirtIO drivers. So I like to show you how it looks like in practice at this moment. Here I'm using Ramina to connect remotely to the server instance. I'd like to show you how like releasing the Dasharo version using this GUI would look like potentially. The first thing we need to do is go to configuration here and create a machine pool. One HLK controller can use a machine pool. Like the machine pool is used to tell the controller which devices to use, which of them they manage. You can name it however you want. Now we need to go to the default pool where all of the unassociated devices lie, and we can just click and move this to the created instance, the created machine pool. So this machine called Windows is there now. Now, the projects tab, you create projects here, and project is like a project is any device, drivers, sub devices like network cards that you test as a one package. If there's anything you would want to test again because you changed something, like you updated the firmware or changed any hardware, you would create a new project and verify it again. So let's say we are creating a new Dasharo release. For something PP66XX, let's say. I don't think if such release will come in the future, but let's call it like that. As you can see, it's not working flawlessly and incredibly fast. That's a thing we'll talk about a bit in the future. Now we can select this project we've created and go to the selection tab to select which devices we want to run the tests on. We need to select the device pool we've just created, LJK test. After it thinks for a while, we should be able to select either a whole system, some sub-device. It detects that there's a SanDisk USB drive connected there, or we can test internal devices that are available there. AI Boost by Intel, something like audio cards. As you can see, I've never inputted anything here. HLK actually detects which tests can be run on the device automatically. I think it's an amazing feature. If it would be, if it wouldn't be so hard to implement, I think it would be great to have something like this in OSFV. So let's say we'll select something that doesn't have a lot of tests, like a power button should be fine, because it will take a while to select all of those tests, create database entries. Just a while more. Yeah. Now we can go to the test tab. Here are all the tests that can be performed on a power button. Yeah. There's 5,000 test cases in OSFV, so it's not a surprise that a power button has like a couple dozen. So now we can select any tests we want, like every single one of them, by clicking here. Actually, I think there's something wrong with the laptop. Maybe it's powered off or something, and HLK doesn't want to allow us to run those tests. Well, that's always a danger with live presentations. We could select those tests now and click Run Selected. From this moment, we don't have to do anything more. HLK controller will manage all of these tests, decide in which order to run them in parallel if we've selected multiple devices in this device pool. And then once those tests are scheduled, we will be able to see them in the results page. Some of them will be scheduled, some of them will be running. I can show how this looks in a screenshot. Here's a results page. So there's 2 tests that I think are cancelled. Here are some that have passed and have ticks here. So if you would like to see what's happened in a test, we can click those triangles here, expand those lists, go to Run Test Logs, double click on a file, and HLK will open a log file, which is in binary form, so it's not human readable. So you need to have a Windows machine to read those. If you would open it, then the results sadly are not like commands executed or expected values that should be returned by some driver API calls, because the tests are also in binary. There are DLLs. If a test fails, if there are some errors, you just have like exceptions being thrown, error 000. It would be really hard to debug what actually caused a fail. But on the other hand, it can be a good thing, because if you know how the tests look inside, you can actually kind of create features to fulfill those tests, not to actually implement the features themselves. If you know how the tests exactly look, you can like hard code some stuff to make them pass. And in reality, the feature doesn't need to necessarily work. So if the whole point is to verify some device you don't trust, doing binary tests is a great thing. In OSFV, logs and test results look a bit different. Robot Framework generates them, and they are available in those pretty HTML files. Mateusz already showed you how they look like a bit. Here's a result page that contains the results for a part of the Dasharo compatibility test module. Some of them pass, some of them not. You can press on those tests. You can go to their logs, which are much more detailed than those of HLK. You can actually see that we've been executing some Linux commands, that we've been writing this dmi decode -t chassis command into the terminal. We've been reading from the terminal until we read a prompt. Then you can see that the test failed because from the terminal we've read some unexpected values. This is incredible if you want to fix those fails, but if you would be certifying some unknown firmware that we don't trust, and we would like to give them a certificate and allow them to use like the Dasharo sticker or something, it might not be that beneficial, actually. So that would sum up this demo. I like to shortly tell you about the proof of concept run on a Nova Custom NV41PZ Alder Lake. It's been run on V172 Dasharo release. And here's the problem we have with the VM. Over a span of 60 hours, only 145 tests have been able to run. Out of them, 85% have passed, so that's a good result for the first trial ever. But there's there are some fails that we can fix and make the Dasharo better. Yeah, but those 16 hours should be a bit worrying, because all of those 145 tests were just short 1-minute tests, and the rest of them, there are like 2 times more of that, like 5-minute tests. There's like 315 minutes tests. There are a couple tests that take 10, 20 hours even. So if we were to interpolate this runtime, it would actually mean a full certification test for this laptop would take about 6,000 hours. That's like 200 days. It's probably just because we've been running this on an old Xeon 4 cores, and it's been in a VM. So we've got all of WLAN tests have passed. Some tests with DirectX have passed. Windows Desktop Manager, I think it is, WDDM, have all passed. Most of tests for camera, Bluetooth, and SMBIOS tables have passed. But we've got some interesting fails too, like the only TPM test that was actually run have failed, which is interesting because Windows clearly knows the TPM is there, because we can install Windows 11 without issues on this laptop. We can, well, all of our tests pass, so from our point of view, TPM works flawlessly. So here's a bit of a roadblock. What to do? The test contains some generic error, some exception raised. What to do to fix it? Actually, it might mean there's some issue with HLK with the setup, or maybe there's something with the firmware. We don't know. We should determine that in other ways. So Windows LTK will be a valuable tool to the Dasharo hardware certification lab. It has like 4 times more tests than OSFV, and despite them being only for Windows, as you can see, they test things like TPM or disk encryption. So they also like translate to the firmware as a whole. if we work more about with this setup, if we make it better, run it on some stronger hardware, maybe we could try to get Windows logo certification on products that run Dasharo in the future. If it turns out that Secured Core PC certification is certified using HLK, then maybe in the future we could also have products like that. Apart from the weak hardware we've used for the first test, also we need to really work on some automation, because you've seen that this GUI, well, for demonstration and running like 2 tests is fine, but if we were to run regression tests like we do now in the Dasharo Hardware Certification Lab, it would be insane to do it via a GUI. There's a very promising project called HCKCI on GitHub. Sadly, we discovered it a bit too late, like a couple of days ago. But they offer to create some tools that allow for automation of Windows LJK from Linux, not from Windows, like it is already possible using .NET and WMI objects. And it might be great to find a way to present the results in a more human-readable way. Now the best way is just to read which tests have passed and write it down in a text file, because the results are also in binary, like the tests. Actually, I think you need to connect the database of HLK, because the test files are stored in a directory structure where the directories are named with some UUIDs. The test results also have names like UUIDs, so there's no way to know where to look for a log of your current run if you don't connect to the HLK database. Hopefully HKCI will help with that in the future. Thank you. I hope in a couple of months, maybe years, we will be able to offer Windows certified devices to you. Do you have any questions?
I guess Andrew raised a hand.
Yes, about your questions about the TPM2 and Windows. Windows is far more picky about what it finds in the DSDT describing the TPM. So whilst the TPM itself tends to work fine at all its magic addresses, Windows is more picky about the AML there. So it might be an ACPI table issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because coreboot exposes the TPM device in the SSDT, not DSDT.
Well, I mean, either should be fine, but it is fairly picky about which attributes and which methods it finds on it.
Okay.
Also, you may want to look at the Zen server patch queue to see what we had to do to make Windows happy with the DSDT.
And how about the scope of the TPM div, guys? We have it's scoped under the SB PCI 0 or whatever the first PCI domain is named. Usually the TPM lives directly under SB scope, so that may also be a difference.
I don't know. That.
There's lots of what is maybe going wrong here, because even if you check out the MSDN, the Microsoft documentation pages, it also said that it should be under the SB and inside the DSDT table instead of SSDT.
So the DSDT and SSDT should not make a difference. The spec is fairly clear that they're all one shared address space.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the DSDT is always loaded first. So if, for example, Windows
the spec also
loads the DSDT and expects the TPM to be there, and then things may happen, I think. If there is some assumption on where should be what.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about that because already we're stealing time from Daniel's, and I have like final slides. So thanks, Philip, for the presentation. I really
Thank you.
I have a lot, as you know, a lot of hopes in that, and yeah, there are various reasons for that. We cannot ignore 99% of the market, or maybe even 70% of the market. Doesn't matter. We should not we should not ignore this kind of market size, and maybe on this field we can work hard to beat someone, to beat some competition, and this test can be a benchmark of if we achieve it or not. Yeah. Anyway, I guess we would get some nice marketing from some celebrities on Twitter if we could make Dasharo working and achieve certain level on Windows HLK. But anyway, thank you very much for this. Was a great project, and I hope we can continue it. Okay, let me show you the slides for the final. So for the vPub. So thank you very much for, of course, for the attending. Sorry for the delay today. That's mostly on me and mostly on my explanation, weak explanation of the really misbehavior or mistakes that we made sometimes. But you can see that even with the best wishes, mistakes happen, and the question is what we do with those, and that's the main point. Okay, we will have in 2-3 minutes Daniel Masłowski, who will talk a little bit about Intel firmware tooling, especially he trying to kind of re-implement, resurrect ME Cleaner. This is very interesting area because I guess many people wanted to achieve this for years, and for some reason Daniel kind of looking at it, and we will learn more about that, how's the progress going on. He gets the funding, and I'm really glad that this project going on, and hopefully Dasharo can leverage it at some point. So that's the next one. After that, there will be Michał Kopeć talking about his bringing Dasharo to ASRock server. Based on already existing core boot port, but still this doesn't make sense. This doesn't mean that if the port exists, we automatically gain Dasharo, because we have certain quality checks and certain things we have to follow. And of course, Dasharo is not always on the most recent tag, because we have also our own cycle of rebasing. After that, at 10 p.m. CET slot, there would be Filip Lewiński, our firmware engineer, who will talk a little bit about FWPD HSI. So Maciej is talking in Tokyo on Saturday, Philip talking today, but essentially Philip will be focused more on our way of achieving HSI 3 on the laptops. And of course, we already know the story that's we already made some mistakes achieving that. But anyway, that's interesting talk. Blog post was written by Sergey, and yeah, I'm looking for that one. And we will end today's vPub demos presentation talks with Michał's Sovereign Boot, with Michik's Sovereign Boot Wizard. Finally gets to the 1.0. Of course, this is 1.0, we can say code complete, really not mass adoption on the market, really kind of feature complete, we can say. And we would be glad if there will be some testing in the community or some feedback, because we will try to integrate Sovereign Boot Wizard into some solutions in 2026. At the end, I want to call for this survey. Like, please go to the survey page or scan QR code. Of course, if you don't trust us, don't scan it. Just type the survey.bsmconf.com. Answer the questions. Really, if you are interested in conference at which we will talk about high assurance infrastructure, about user controlled, owner controlled, root of trust, chain of trust technology, fully verifiable boot chain, including the tool chain. That's something we would like to know. What's your opinion about that? who we should invite, who could be a sponsor, and so on. Okay, and that's it. Thank you very much for this quarter Dasharo User Group, and we're switching to the vPub. So I'm giving the stage to Daniel. Still see your coding.
All right. And let's see that we get to see mine.